Hi everyone, I hope you're well. Today's topic is going to cover the introduction of a AI rescue helicopter for your carrier groups. Now I've got it all set up on screen here, but I'll take you through it step by step as per usual. And the first elements to include are the ships and the helicopters themselves. So I've stuck in the Stennis here, and I've given it some waypoints. And the critical point with the waypoints is to have them at specific times. Now when you set a waypoint, like here, you'll see that there's an ETA, an estimated time of arrival, at that particular point. Now I know that the helicopter that I put in there will fly for a certain amount of time, around about an hour and 50 minutes-ish. So what I wanted to do was, after that hour and 50 minutes, spawn in another rescue helicopter, because the other one will come back and land on the Stennis, and have that escort it for another hour and 50 minutes. So this whole process will give you just short of 4 hours Helo time, which is kind of enough for any multiplayer server or any mission that you've got set up, really. So I'll take you through the process now. So we'll put in the ship first, which is the Stennis, and I'll locate it there. I'll give it, it's doing 11 knots, and I'll give it its first waypoint as close to the ones that I'd already set up. And I'll zoom out, and I'll give it another waypoint close to where it's second set up. Now as you can see, at waypoint 1, because it's starting at 0800 this mission, 9:50 is the time when it gets to waypoint 1, which is the hour and 50 minutes that the helicopter should last for, ish, approximately. And then when it gets to this point here, that's 11:38, so again it's around about 3 hours 40 minutes in total, so close to 4 hour mark. So that's that set up. Then I put in a helicopter, and I utilised the UH60 because there's a rather nice skin for that, which gives it a naval colours. So I'll put that there, and I'll give it an altitude of 100 feet, and I'll make its speed 11 knots, and that matches the Stennis, as you can see, 11 knots. I'll zoom in a little bit closer, bring the helicopter in, and place it just in line with the deviation in the deck there. Ish. It's all trial and error, you'll have to do it yourself and see what suits you best. Let's give the helicopter some waypoints now by clicking Add, and we'll give it a waypoint close to there. In fact, know what we'll do? I forgot. Put it around about the midpoint. That's about right, and it's doing 11 knots. And then add a second one. There, where the Stennis is going to end up to its first waypoint. And set that to 10 knots. Now this is not a precise science. Until ED implement the escort naval vessel scenario, similar to the ground escort, it's just like a temporary measure. What I've noticed is, as the ship's going along, irrespective of that the speed is set here equally at 11 knots, the helicopter, as it gets lighter, will travel faster. So 11 knots to the first waypoint and 10 knots to the second waypoint means that it'll get slightly ahead and then it will drop back. And that's that element set up. By the way, the skin for the helicopter, I need to switch to US Navy Carl Vinson, and there we go, as you can see, naval colours. So that's the first part set up. Then what I do, or what I did, was create a spawn SRH2 trigger at a point where I knew the first helo would roundabout start to run out of fuel and come back and land on the Stennis. What I wanted to happen was have that second helo there spawn in. So I created a spawn point that when the Stennis itself actually got into that point, that helicopter would spawn in. And I made it a late activation. Again, I gave it a speed of 11 knots. And I named it SRH2 and the pilot as SRH2. I then gave it its first waypoint there, and that was at 11 knots. And then its midpoint waypoint 2, I gave it a speed of 10 knots, so it will start dropping back a bit. And then its third waypoint, I told it to go to that waypoint at 11 knots. So there should be a little bit of a balance. So that's the unit setup with the trigger zone. You should know by now how to set up the trigger zones. I shouldn't have to run through that, I'm hoping. I should have seen all the other videos. He says, hopefully. Now, I'll take you through the process of the set rules for trigger and how that works. Here we are in the trusty set rules for trigger area again. And the first trigger that I set up was this one, a one-time event. I called it Spawn SRH2, SRH standing for Stennis Rescue Helicopter 2, with no event. The condition that I wanted it to work upon was unit inside zone, and I wanted that helicopter to activate when the Stennis got into that zone. So, unit inside zone, USS Stennis is the actual unit itself, and the zone is Spawn SRH2, as per this zone here. And the action that I wanted to happen was group activate, and the group I wanted to activate was SRH2, which is the name of the spawning rescue helo. And that's as simple as that. This is relatively simple and straightforward. And that's the mission editor element of it done. So what I'll do now is I'll go into the mission and I'll show you some speeded up footage of actually how it works. And back in the game, there's the Stennis, there's its rescue helo shadowing it. What I'll do now is I'll speed it up to the point where the second helo spawns in. Now to speed up the process when you're watching a mission in progress, if you press Ctrl Z a number of times, it will speed up the whole process. So let's come back into the spawning point. And there we go. There's your replacement helo for the next hour and 50 odd minutes. What will happen now is the first helo will now start to run out of fuel and will head back to the Stennis. I'll speed that up. And there's the first helo landing back on the Stennis. I hope you guys found that helpful, and hope you're looking forward to the next video. I'll catch you later. Cheers now.